filming of Ebra Horror of the Deep had wrapped up, Toho began working on a film to commemorate the new year, 1967. Due to the audience for Godzilla being primarily comprised of children, it was decided that in this movie, Godzilla would have a son. Toho held a naming contest for the son of Godzilla, and about 8,000 submissions were made. The naming campaign came to an end with a raffle being drawn publicly at a reveal ceremony. There it was revealed that Minya would be the name. Another fun fact about this film is that in Japan, Minya is actually Minra. Minra is a combination of the Japanese words for Mini and Godzilla put together. It is also speculated that Minya is more of an adopted son, as we don't actually see Godzilla lay the egg. The movie begins showing a huge storm and a plane flying over Sogol Island. Godzilla appears in the water heading towards the island, with the plane crew wondering what could be there. We then flash to Sogol Island, where we see a team of scientists led by a man named Kazumi. He is performing a weather controlling experiment. He wants to use this to help grow food in previously unsuitable climates. The team begins to notice strange interference affecting their equipment. One day a plane flies over the island and a man jumps out using a parachute. Kazumi and one of his assistants go and investigate. When they bring the man back to their base, he tells them his name is Goro Maki. Goro is an investigative reporter trying to get a scoop on the top secret experiments Kazumi and his team are conducting. While the team declines to give any information, they do allow Goro to stay, and he acts as the team's photographer. And Maki sees a giant praying mantis moving through the jungle that surrounds the camp. He also sees a mysterious woman who quickly disappears into the ocean. Kazumi is ready to put his experiment to the test. The weather control capsules located on the island begin spraying a cooling gas into the air. Unfortunately, the radioactive sand blows up prematurely and results in mutating some giant mantis into a giant kaiju called Kamacuras. The Kamacuras approach a dirt mound and tear it apart, revealing an egg. They smash the egg until it reveals Minya. Just in the nick of time, Godzilla approaches the island and comes ashore. He rescues Minya from the Kamacuras, forcing two to retreat, and kills one in the process. Minya is fed some fruit by a native girl and then leaves with Godzilla. After having a run-in with Goro, the native girl introduces herself as Seiko Matsuma. She was the daughter of a scientist who had worked on the island previously. She and the rest of the group end up moving into her cave after the base is destroyed by Godzilla. Shortly after, some members of the group come down with a severe fever. Seiko says that the only way to cure the fever is to get warm red water located in a lake on the interior of the island. They must pass the valley of Kamunga, a giant spider native to the island. At the lake, Godzilla is educating Minya on how to fire atomic breath. At first, Minya can only breathe a few smoke rings until Godzilla stomps on his tail, resulting in a blast of fire. One day, while out picking plants, Seiko is attacked by the Kamacuras. She calls out for Minya, who comes to the rescue. Minya tries fighting Kamacuras, but in the process kicks a rock into Kamunga's valley. This awakens the mighty spider, but Godzilla is approaching. Seiko and Goro both get trapped by Kamunga, who starts spitting webbing at them. After a bit of trying, Goro and Seiko escape Kamunga and go and set up a radio for Kazumi to contact the UN for help. The group decides that it will be tough to leave the island with the monsters around, and that they should conduct a weather experiment to freeze them. Minya tries to rescue the group who have been trapped in the cave by Kamunga, and Kamunga is briefly distracted by Kamacuras, but easily kills him and is about to do the same to Minya. Minya calls out to Godzilla, who returns and fights Kamunga. The group uses this opportunity to escape the island. While it looks like Kamunga has the upper hand on Godzilla, Minya comes to the rescue, and together Godzilla and Minya use their atomic breath and set Kamunga on fire. The island begins to freeze over, and Godzilla and Minya attempt to leave, but ultimately fall into hibernation together. The group is rescued by a UN submarine and leaves Sogol Island. Son of Godzilla unfortunately has another not-so-rememberable cast. While the actors like Akira Kubo and Akiko Harada return, their performances are just not that noteworthy. I thought that the cast was fine for Son of Godzilla and the chemistry on screen was fine, but there was certainly something left to be desired. One interesting tidbit is the character Goro Maki. While a different character each time, he appears in a few instances throughout the Godzilla series. Son of Godzilla marks the first appearance of the character. Son of Godzilla isn't anything special, but it isn't a terrible movie by any stretch, and I think it does a better job with the island theme than the previous movie. We are introduced to two new Godzilla foes, Kamunga and Kamacuras. I like both of these monsters, and they put up a good fight against Godzilla. Godzilla. It would have been fun to see them in a city setting, but an island theme for this movie isn't that bothersome. I think the plot is interesting, but wasn't that engaging. You really felt the threat of Kamacuras and Kumonga, which I liked and helped balance out the goofiness of the Minya costume. The puppeteering work done for both kaiju, especially Kumonga with all of his legs, are fantastic and bring these enemies to life. The movie is historic in that we see Godzilla in a parental role, which was new for him. I thought it was an interesting premise, and I thought the fight scenes were interesting. I don't think this movie has the same caliber as Mothra vs. Godzilla, but it has its own unique charm. The score for this movie is interesting and helps add to the story. Overall, I don't think this movie is worse than Ebra Horror of the Deep. I think it improves on some things that made it weak. I think there are some real touching scenes that every G fan should get around to seeing at some point. I'm gonna give this movie 3 out of 5 stars. Hey G fans, I hope everybody is safe. I just started a subreddit for the channel. This will hopefully create a community and enable everybody to give me suggestions and critiques. I hope everybody will join in. Thank you, and don't forget to like and subscribe.